Hello everyone, how you doing? I've upgraded the setup a little bit. I bought an HDMI to USB adapter, so I've got a proper camera running now. If I switch to just camera, you will see I'm in full HD, which is nice. I'm going to switch back to that because you really don't need to see me in full HD. Who have we got on? Oh, we've got some people already. Hello, Chris. Hello, Will. Hello, Archie. Hello, Anne. Hello, Andres. Yes, can't believe I've dragged you back to Facebook. Yes, mate. Well, you know, it's the best place to do this thing, I think. Hello, Dean. Glad you've joined us, mate. Okay, well, this is going to be a little bit of a treat for everyone today, I hope. Many years ago, I was lucky enough to be involved in an album with my friend Dean Howard, and Andres, my friend Andres, played the drums, and Dean's friend Russ, who became my friend, played the bass, and also my friend John Paul. Got lots of friends, haven't I? My friend John Paul played keyboards live with us and also did some keyboards on this song. But most importantly, this song that I'm going to mix today on this stream had a guest vocalist, and that guest vocalist is Ian Gillan from Deep Purple. If you don't know who Ian Gillan is, or you don't know who Deep Purple are, then you're probably very young. But they were the people that did Smoke on the Water. I can't play that in this stream because that would be against copyright. But yeah, he's a pretty legendary guy. Let's just say that he's been around the block and had a few hit records. So yeah, I was lucky enough. I was 24 years old, and I was lucky enough, with thanks to Dean, to get to work with him. We wrote this song together as a band, not with Ian, and then we went to his house to record the vocals. I'd written the lyrics and done a demo of it, which I'll be honest with you, I don't think he listened to. If he did, he certainly didn't remember any of it when we tried to record. Andrews had just sort of clang name drop. Yeah, well, that's what we're all here for. I mean, at the end of the day, people want to hear Ian Gillan's vocals. They don't want to hear me babbling on. But I'm going to babble on for a bit anyway, just to get the stream numbers up. So we went down and did the recording session, and we had an excellent night the night before the recording. When we got down there, we were all getting drunk and other things in Ian's study, and it was lovely. There was me, and there was Dean, and Andres, and Ricky, Dean's son, who's now in Ozzy Floyd, plays bass in Ozzy Floyd with me. We had a great time, great evening, and then we went back and stayed in a bed and breakfast, and then the next morning came over to Ian's to do the vocals. And all of those three thought, well, it's a nice summer's day, you know, we're down by the beach, why don't we go to the beach? So they all left and went to the beach, and left me, a 24-year-old, a little bit nervous, to be honest, with this massively world famous rock star. And I crapped myself, but we got through it. There was some sort of tantrums from both sides. It was a fun experience, something I look back on very fondly. We recorded all the vocals and the harmonica, and then we went on tour later that year with Deep Purple to promote the album. It was just great. I've got some other stories about it. I've got a story about Ricky and the cat later on. But first, what I want to do is play you the song. And I'm going to play you if I switch to the Cubase window, here we go. I'm going to play you the original mix that we finished back in 2004. Just to give you an idea of where we were at with that. So I'm going to mute my microphone. Just going to bring up my other mixing desk quickly. Mute my microphone, and we'll have a listen through to the 2004 mix. So here we go. Well, that was the song for those who've just joined the stream a little bit late. That was the song as it was finished in 2004. So yeah, there's some good stuff about this and some bad stuff about this. One good thing is I recorded it all, so I know what I'm dealing with here. I'm not running into anything where where it's sort of out of the realms of what I'm used to. That being said, some of it could have been recorded better, and some of it has had decisions imprinted on the files in a way that I probably wouldn't do now. So they've been run through EQs and compressors and stuff where I might just have a copy of the signal flat now. So yeah, fantastic job. Well, thanks, Don. Not heard this track before. Said Sean, sounds great through a phone. I seem to recall you giving me a copy of this a year or so after you'd made it. Can't remember if you told me how good it was. Might dig it out and give it another listen, says Mark. Thank you, Mark. Well, we're going to go through the multi-track of it now. So I loaded up my old version of Logic, which was Logic 5.2 from back in the PC days. And I converted all the files, I consolidated them and converted all the files and imported them into Cubase, ready to have a listen through. And I'm just going to play it all. I've got no plugins over anything at all. All I've done is just pan a few things and turn a few things up and down. As I said, a lot of the signals were EQ'd and compressed to some degree on the way in, so even unmixed, it sounds pretty decent. And then I'm going to go through and solo certain channels together just so you can hear Ian Gillan's voice sort of on its own, maybe with just the acoustic, because it sounds really nice. It's really nice just to hear what we're dealing with before I'd mess with any of it. So I'm going to mute my mic again and we'll have a listen through again with just the raw files. So here we go. Okay, so that's the unmixed version of the song. Yes, Ricky, you did notice as I went to walk up the stairs, I almost slipped over. I was steaming my floor earlier, and there's a wet patch, and I almost completely stacked it there, which would have been absolutely hilarious on camera. So, well, I'm glad I didn't, to be honest, because, yeah, I'd rather not stack it. But still, anyway, what am I talking about? Okay, so the next listen through I'm going to do will feature Ian's vocals much more. It'll probably just be him, maybe I'll put acoustic and bass, and that's it. But before we do that, I want to show you some photos from the day of some of the recording sessions. So I'm just going to go to my other screen here. And here is a photo of, there's Andres, there's me, there's Ian and Dean at Ian's house in his back garden. That's after the recording. As you can see, I look incredibly happy in that picture. Really, really happy. This picture here is actually, I believe that was that in Birmingham, at the Birmingham NEC backstage when we were on tour with Deep Purple. And there's Ian holding our album, and we'd all signed it for him, which was kind of funny, but nice of him to ask us to sign his album. And there's Ian signing John Paul's Rickenbacker, which Jimmy Page refused to do, but Ian agreed. These are some of the guitars that we used on the album. This 335 here, I believe, is the one that Dean used to do all his parts on this song. This Telecaster here I used for the rhythm parts, and this Strat here that's at the back here with the rosewood board, I believe I used that to do the lead parts on this song. There's a picture of Andres' drum setup, 57 on the snare, 58s with the tops taken off to make them look like 57s on the toms. I was pretty cheap back then. There's me in the studio with something dubious hanging out the end of my guitar. That's actually Dean's acoustic, that wasn't mine, but that was also Dean's roll-up, not mine, honest gov. Here's Russell, the bass player. Russell. Great bass player. You'll hear later on when I solo the drums and bass together. He's just a stunning player. Here's Andres, the drummer and ex-guitar tech for me in Aussie Floyd. Lovely drummer, great bloke. There's Dean with his 5150 head, which is what he was using at the time, and that 335 again. And there's his red Strat that he calls Pinky. There's Dean in the studio looking slightly, how can I put it? Chilled out, that's a good way of putting it, with some dubious rolling papers on the mixing desk. There's Dean playing the white Telecaster that I actually played the rhythm part of this song on. And here's the studio, which was my old studio, Rogue Studios, back in the day when I worked full-time recording bands. So I hope you all found that interesting. A few more stories about the recording later on, but now I'm going to have a listen through. I'm just going to solo the bass and the acoustic guitars. I might put some room of the drums in. Might put the drums in, just a room mics of the drums, just so you get a little bit of rhythm. But I don't want to cloud the vocals too much. I want the main focus. I'm just going to solo Ian's vocals, and we'll have a listen through to the song from sort of where he comes in, which is about here.
It's been so long since yesterday, and it will be some time again. Cherish every minute while you can. It crossed my mind over the years to spend more time hidden by my fears. Back to living life through sleep. Take away my need to eat, and the chains are gone. I'm on a one-way journey, and I'm running late. Burn down all my feelings. I've learned to hate. I've learned to hate.
I'm also going to solo the harmonica here. Ian does a lovely harmonica solo. We actually cut half of it on the final version, but here's it in its full.
I'm on a one-way journey and I'm running late. Burn down all my feelings and I've learned to hate. I'm on a one-way journey and I'm running late. Burn down all my feelings. I've learned to hate.
Okay, so that's kind of like a mix, so you could hear the vocals more. I hope you all enjoyed that. The vocals were recorded with a Rode Classic. I remember when we went down to his house, I took the Neumann and I took the Valve Rode Classic. And we tried both of them, did a quick 1-2 in both of them, and the Rode Classic just suited his voice a lot more. I think it was a Joe Meek mic preamp that I used. I can't fully remember, I wouldn't swear to that, but I think it was a Joe Meek mic preamp that I used. The Rode Classic is the same Rode Classic that we used on Matt Bellamy in about 2002, 2003 when he recorded at Rogue. So it's got some good people that have sung in that. It's currently sitting over there somewhere in a box, broken, and I've promised myself that I will fix it at some point. It's been 10 years and I still haven't. So yeah, so at some point I'll fix that, and that mic will be valuable in a kind of sentimental reason. Right, I'm just going to move my mic, so move the chair up. Everyone can still see me, that's good. By the way, what do you think? I've got the beautiful guitars in the background. Everyone was complaining about how untidy my place was last time, so I invested in some guitars because I didn't have any, so I thought I'd better buy some, and bought a little stand, and now I've got some guitars in the background. So anyway, let's start with the drums. The drums were recorded in the biggest room in my rehearsal studio and recording studio, Rogue Studios. And I've got a bass drum mic, a snare drum mic, a hi-hat, 4 toms, although I had the fourth one muted. So I'm assuming that there's nothing on that. I'm just going to stay with that assumption for the moment. Then we've got a stereo file of overheads and a stereo file of room mics. So let's start. I'm just going to solo all the drums and we'll have a listen through to them. See how good they are. All complaints to Andres, please, not me. He's listening in on this. I'm not going to listen through to the whole song, don't run off. I'm just going to listen through to a bit of it and just get an idea. So even without any EQ and only just turning things up and down and some things a bit up just for the sake of monitoring, you know, it kind of sounds all right because it's had EQ and it's had a little bit of compression, I think, to the recording. I did all that back then. I was kind of more used to working with tape machines and, well, at least that's where I started. So, you know, you did a lot of stuff to tape. This is the nice sounding low tom there. Where's there some activity? Where's he doing some flashy stuff? That was a nice feel, yeah, that's better. That's what I was looking for. So, I mean, the drums sound sort of pretty nice. I mean, you know, you could whack an EQ over them as a group and put a bit of compression and make a half-decent drum sound out of that. There's records out there which have got worse drum sounds than that. But I'm going to go through channel by channel, set up some EQ, compression, stuff like that. So let's start with the bass drum. I'm going to move to here a bit further on, actually, where there's more consistent playing rather than the little gaps. So I'm going to turn the fader down so I'm not clipping anything. So first thing, I'm going to get my favourite Q10 on it just to get rid of any horrible frequencies, because the more nasty little notches you can get rid of, the nicer it will be to mix. It will just work. You can just turn up whole ranges of frequencies and it will still be nice. So I'm going to start around sort of 60 hertz and just work my way up. So I'm going to booster. Listen to that. Listen to that ring. That's horrible. That's got to go. There's our first one gone. Just by as a matter of course, I'm going to low pass a little bit, maybe about 40 hertz, just to round it off. Let's move up. Is there a horrible ring anywhere around 125? I'd imagine there will be. Sort of all round there. Sort of, I'm going to widen the Q a bit. So that all sounds a bit ringy. Just get rid of some of that. About 500. Always a. Do you hear that little whistle? About 445. Again, widen the Q a touch. So that's what it was. That's what it is now. So it's cleaner, but it's not got as much punch. So I'm going to put a touch of those back in, but not too much. And now I'm going to put a low shelf over it, just. Because now we've notched out the horrible frequencies. I'm just going to bring down a touch more. I can turn up the overall bottom end. let's have a listen up the top end, see if there's anything horrible. There's a whistle there. There it is. Right, now I'm going to put on this plugin which I only recently bought, but I'm finding it really effective. It's called TransX, and it basically improves the transients. It can make things a little bit more punchy and kind of gets rid of the sort of the after ring. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it, but you can go on the Waves website and they'll explain it much better than me. But it sounds great. So this is it off. Now I'm going to put it on. Oh, listen how solid that is now. I need to trim it down a bit. So that's a nice bass drum sound. I'm going to sit with that for a bit. Now I'll move on to the snare drum. Andres. You love a pingy snare, don't you? Ping, 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 ping with your 4-inch snare. Right, let me get an EQ onto this one. I'm only taking the piss. He knows I love it, really. Right, low pass as a matter of course. A little bit higher, probably about 80 hertz now. Right, I want to find some horrible ringy frequencies up the top first. That's just horrible, that frequency. That's going. Sounds like a biscuit tin. I want to find something nice down the bottom. I'm finding some horrible stuff down the bottom. Like that. Just try and get some low shelf. Let's get rid of some of this. And let's right, now I'm going to do a really wide cue and boost and just really wide cue taking it out as well somewhere. Right, I'm going to... Roy says, be tempted to trigger something with that biscuit tin. Well, actually, on the original I did. I triggered both the bass drum and the snare drum. I had triggers under them, but I don't want to. I want to try and do something with the mix that I've got, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, if I have to trigger something, then I have to trigger something, and I might well do that. Let's have a look. I'm going to go for one of the SSL channels and load the snare drum preset and start from there. It will need some tweaking, obviously. Take the gate off. Yeah, that gives it some fatness. Warms it up a lot. I love this plugin. Clean some of that background noise out. But I mean, that's the thing. It's a close snare drum mic, but it's got to be in context with the rest of it as well. Remember, there's overheads, which is what I'm going to work on next. I'm going to have a listen to. Let's have a listen to this then. Whole cloudiness down here. And there's a harshness as well that I want to get rid of. Yes, that 4K read. So let's have a listen to the bass drum, the snare drum, and the overheads together. Check the phasing of the mics. I'm not hearing huge difference between the phasing if I pop the phasing of the overheads in and out. Right, so let's move on. I'm going to do some grouping in a bit, but I'm just going to go through each signal first. I'll start with the second tom. That was a nice little fast. Okay, so there's some tom action going on there. I'm going to put that in a loop. This will annoy everyone. Do you know, for now, because I EQ'd those toms to the recording, I'm just going to leave them. I'm going to find something where he plays the top tom. Here we go. So there's a top tom. So I've got these at the moment panned. This one's quite left. That one is a little bit, I'm going to put it a little bit more left. And then this one here is quite far down, which actually kind of matches what his kit was. If I bring this picture into here, you can see the top tom. No, well, actually, the second tom's more central. Maybe I should make it more central. Yeah, we'll see. No, I want to give it some stereo image. So I'm going to put the toms in. That's the joy of having everything kind of half done. I quite like the sound of that. I think whatever decision I made on the day I recorded it was correct. I like that. Right, the room mics. I love room mics. So let's have a listen through to these. Put some EQ on these. Q10 again. Q10 stereo, not mono. Right. Right, loads of harshness going on the top end. Oh yeah. Oh, listen to that. It's horrible. Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay. That's all I'm going to do on the room mics for now. We'll have a listen through to all the drums together as they are at the moment, and I'm going to do some grouping. I'm not going to put the hi-hat mic in yet. We'll worry about that later. So, room. There's lots of room. So what I might try and do is just delay the room mics if I start with 20 milliseconds. Let's see what that sounds like, just to make them feel like they're moved away from the rest of the instruments. I'm just bringing them in and back again. 20 didn't sound very natural. 10 just brought them in too close. 15 milliseconds seemed to just move them away enough that you could hear that they were separate room mics, but it didn't sound like it was out of phase or anything. I'll put the phase in and out of that, and we'll see whether it sounds fatter with the room in or out of phase. Hello, Russell. You've just turned up, mate. Russell! So if I get... Yeah, it sounds better with the phase that way around. I don't want them up too loud. I just want it there as just a bit of padding. Okay, right, I'm going to do some grouping now. So I'm going to make 3 standard stereo groups. Where am I doing? Group channel, there we go. 3 groups, 1, 2, 3. Add track, and it always puts them at the bottom rather than where I actually want them to be. So, is it made 4, or am I using the other group for something? I thought I said 3, but I could have got it wrong. Oh no, I think the R's are grouped to a group as well. I will check on that before I go any further, just in case I'm messing something up. So this one here, R's, no, they're going to stereo up. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I'm going to use these groups here. So this one I'm going to call close drums. This one here I'm going to call overhead and room, so that's like all our ambience and other stuff. And this here I'm going to call crunch drums. In fact, I should have a 4th group if I'm not using this one. I'm just going to check the outputs and check I'm not sending anything to that group. Nope, I'm not. So if I did just create it, I can watch back on the live stream and see if I did. Then it's useful. So I needed 4 groups. Okay, and this one I'm going to call final drums. So the bass drum I'm going to send to the close drums. The snare drum I'm going to send to the close drums. None of this should surprise you. All the toms to the close drums. The overheads are going to go to the overhead and room group, surprisingly. The hi-hat I'm also going to send to the overhead and room group, but I'm going to turn it down for now because I haven't put it in anywhere. We'll see how much of it we need. Sometimes you just don't need it at all. So if I play that now, you can see I've got the close drums there, and then I've got the overheads in the room there. And what I want to do is then send both of these to this group called the crunch drums. So I'll go to sends here, crunch drums, and I'm going to click this button here which sends it pre-fader, which means I can turn this down and it won't affect the send. And I'm going to do the same here, send it to the crunch drums. So they're now coming through there. So if I turn these close drums and overhead and room down, we're getting the drums through this group here called the crunch drums. And I'm going to put on it's actually a mastering plug-in here, but it's got a drum bus setting on it, and I absolutely love it. And it really saturates the sound. So this is just going to sound absolute filth. I'll whack the sensitivity up. And that's why I took so much time trying to get rid of those ringy things at the bottom of the bass drum, because they might not sound that much on their own, but the moment you start putting compression on it and doing all that, all of those horrible frequencies are just going to go crazy. So this is just got to be filth, absolute filth. So we're going to turn that off for the moment, and then I'm going to put my close drums and my room back in. And then I'm going to slowly mix some of the filth, the crunch drums, underneath the underneath all the clean drums. Are we still streaming? Is this working, or has something gone wrong? 1 second. Someone say hello if you can see me and hear me, because it looks like the screen is frozen at my end. Oh no, it seems to all be working. That's good. Just say hello if you're watching along. Just type something and let me know that you can hear everything okay. Right. So yeah, I was going to mix in some of those crunchy drums underneath. Cheers everyone. It just froze on one of my screens. So you can see the way I've got like the clean drums, and then I've got the parallel compressed drums. So I'm taking a feed from those, putting them through a really, really harsh plug-in, which is really crunching them, compressing them, distorting it a little bit, and just feeding a little bit in underneath it. Just fills out all the space where you've got this huge dynamic range where the drums, the clean drums sit, where the bass drum sort of goes to there and then comes back down to there, and there's the cymbals in between, and it just fills in all the space so nicely without sounding like it's distorted. Okay, so all of those three groups, I'm going to send to the final drums group. So now we've got a group of drums here, which is everything. That's just all the drums. So if I turn them down, they'll go off. So I'm just going to go to this here and turn down the gain to the final drums group, because all those groups going in together will be quite loud. I'm going to put another one of those mastering strips over it. I just love this on drums, but nowhere near as much as went on that distorted one. Just so that's without. So now I can turn the crunch drum down a bit. So that's the crunch drums out. Right, that's just going to annoy me, that little because it's so loud. It's kind of, the wave is sort of unnecessarily loud for what it is. So I'm just going to snip that and turn it down a bit so you hear more of the ambience of the room. In the music that will sound better. Right, so let's before I do any reverbs, I want to listen through with the bass. So let's just listen to the bass and the the drums, the final drum group, and you'll hear how beautiful the bass playing is on this, and I mean that sincerely. Russell did a beautiful job. He's an excellent bass player, and this sounds great. I'm just going to turn it up on the channel for now. It's just got a lovely sound to it, a lovely feel. I don't know what bass he used on it. Russell, if you're still watching this, let us know what bass you used. And as far as I can remember, that was a pretty straight DI. Yeah, didn't do anything beforehand compression-wise or anything like that. So while we were listening to that, you might have seen me duplicate the track, so I've got an identical copy to it underneath. And as with previous videos, I'm going to split it into sort of two channels, really, one with the sub and one with the top end. So I'm going to start here just with a Q2 mono plugin, and this is just going to be a high pass and a low pass. So I'm going to probably roll it up somewhere around 60 hertz, I'd imagine. Because we know that the bass drum kind of stops having the bottom end around 60 hertz. I was kind of cutting a lot of that out, so the punch is lower than that in the bass drum, so I don't want it to interfere with the bass drum. So I'm going to do the low cut about 60 hertz and then bring the top down. Turn the whole volume up. So that's just the sub there. And I'm going to put an SSL compressor over it. I'm going to turn the attack time up because it's a bass sound. Bass sounds have particularly sub of bass, have longer wavelengths. So if you have too much of a short attack time, it's just going to kill the bass note. It's not going to happen. And I don't want too much, just sort of a little tickle every now and again. See, every now and again it just grabs, I think the bass was Dean's jazz bass. Yeah, I think you're right actually, Russ. I've got pictures of you playing all sorts of different bass, but I don't know which song was which. I know we used Dean's jazz on Falling, didn't we, as well? Oh, I was listening to that song the other day. It's a good song. Anyway. So you can see it just gets the loudest notes, but you kind of get this nice bed of sub coming from that. I might even bring in the top end a bit more, so it's even more subby. And then on the other channel, I'm going to roll off all the bottom ends. So I'm going to go totally opposite on this one. I'm going to just use a Q1 at the beginning and just roll that right up. So you're getting all that top end skank. And on this, I'm going to put an Amplitude plugin, Amplitude 4, just to give it some realism, try and make it sound like it's gone through a guitar amp. Now this plugin always takes ages to load. I click on that and it's still not loaded, and there it is. Very, very good plugin though, by far the best. I don't want a bass amp model. I want something that's like a guitar amp that's filthy. That looks like a filthy guitar. I can't see. Oh yeah. Pull that up even more. So that's just the top end, and I'm going to listen to that with the sub, the bottom end, and we can see whether they need switching in any kind of phase way. So that's one of them out of phase. Yeah, it's slightly fatter when they're in phase, but because I've split the frequencies quite nicely, it's not they're not actually conflicting with each other. So let's have a listen through to the drums and the bass just together now with that sort of done like that. How much more punchy is that? I mean, that's lovely. Now I've got some music here, I'm going to work on the snare a bit more. Okay, so what I've done there is I've just sent these two bass channels to a group called Music. And those of you that have watched these streams before will know that I like to put all the music, vocals, everything that's not the drums, basically, drums or percussion, to a separate group. Because sometimes when everything's getting louder than everything else, it's nice to just be able to turn all of everything down without disturbing the drums, just to kind of allow the drums to come through. Otherwise, you're going to have to turn the drums up, and then everything just gets louder than everything else. I know I could do it with the VCA. People have said VCAs before, but the old version of Cubase didn't have VCAs, and I got used to doing it with the group. And sometimes you just, you don't change your habits, do you? Right. So for now, without any reverbs on the drums, I'm kind of quite happy with the sound of this. That opening bass drum, much as it needs to be softer, and it's softer in tone, I actually want to get the level up a bit because it's not quite cutting through in the way that I want. That's better. Right, immediately I need to put some sort of compressor over the top of this bass amp channel. When I say some sort of compressor, I don't mean that. I mean this. And because it's the top end, I'm going to have a shorter attack time than the sub. Okay, that's nice. Let's, all right, I'm going to start muting all this stuff so that I can bring it in as I want to use it. So I've got all of that, Dean, harmonica, Hammond, Ian. It's going to be a treat when we get to mix his vocals. Right, there we go. So, what next on the list of stuff to put in? Well, it looks like my guitar's the first thing to play in the song other than the drums. So, let's have a listen to that. Was that a Telecaster? Or was that a Strat? I don't know. I think it was that Telecaster on the neck pickup, that white Telecaster. Now, I'm pretty certain all the rhythm parts for this were recorded with a Line 6 pod, which was very popular back in 2004. I wouldn't record with one now if you paid me, but still, those were the times that we lived in. And actually, because I put it through some other outboard gear, some very warm EQ on the desk, and I had some nice compressors that I had on it, I think actually it sounds pretty decent. Maybe something at the top end that I want to get rid of. Not the EQ I wanted. Man, I'm sloppy. We haven't had Dean yet though, so anyway. Just a little sweep through. Some stuff around there that's horrible. I'm going to bring up the bottom end so it's not... Trev just said, "Nout wrong with sloppy." Oh, if you knew Trev, that would make you laugh even more than I'm sure you already are. Yeah, it was just it sounded nice on its own, but then in the mix, I just needed to roll a bit of the bottom end, a bit more of that bottom end off it. Right, Dean's guitars are pretty featured rhythm-wise here. So let's have a listen to them on their own. Right, if I've set the link up between the channels right, if I put an EQ on here, it should put it on both of them, which it has, which is nice. It will sync up the two EQs. So again, I'm going to put a bit of a low, a high pass on that. I keep saying getting it the wrong way around. You know what I mean. Doesn't matter. The language doesn't matter. It's what it sounds like that matters. Right, I think basically this characteristic of that old Line 6 pod is they had a peak around 2.6, 2.7. That whistle that they just had. And I spent a lot of time trying to get rid of it with not very good tools back in 2004. Just a bit muddy around there, and I'll probably have to bring up the bottom end a bit. Bring up the high pass. Okay. So now what I want to do is get a bit more mids out of it. So I'm going to have a really, really wide Q and turn up so it's like turn it up so that I can move the frequency and kind of tip what you'd call the colour of the sound, so it can go between more bassy and more trebly. And I've turned it up a lot just to demonstrate what it's doing. So that's... yeah. So Dean's guitars at the moment are panned left and right. Are they dead left and right? They are. I'm going to bring them in a touch. I'm going to make them about 85% of the way. I'm going to send these guitars to the music group. And now you can see if I want to bring down the music at any point, just pull out all the music. See, even with the guitars in, I can hear now these frequencies are all coming together, and what sounded like a really tight drums and bass sound is now sounding, with the guitars in there, just sounding a little bit muddy at the bottom end. even though on their own nothing sounds that muddy, it's the effect of having them all together, which is why just, rule number one, high pass everything, to some degree, even if it's 20 hertz, just high pass it, everything. And usually a lot higher than you think. Okay, let's have a look at this acoustic. So I'm going to do with the acoustic what I would do with the drums and a lot of other instruments. I'm going to parallel compress them. So yeah, let's just have a listen to them at the moment. I've got 2 acoustic channels. It was a stereo file, but I've done some trickery to make the left-hand side of the wave appear on this channel and the right-hand side appear on this. I've used a stereo imager plug-in to kind of extract the channel out and make it mono. So let me just pan them both in the center for a minute. Let's start with acoustic 1. So this is I think it's this side of the wave, the left side of the wave. So knowing me back at the time, it would have been a condenser and a dynamic. So that's one of the mics, and the other one is guessing that this one here, the acoustic 2, has got more kind of in it. I'm guessing that would have been a 57 or a 58, something like that, and I'm guessing this would be the Neumann because that was my favourite condenser mic that I had at the time. Trev says high pass. Yep. I'm glad you agree, mate. Because so if I put both of them in, both of these acoustics in. Do I just turn something else up, down? I don't know. Anyway, put both of those in. I want to check the phasing and see, because it's 2 different mics on the same guitar, and I decided earlier that it needed to be out of phase. But just to give you an example of what it would sound like if I didn't check the phasing, that's really thin. The 2 mics are cancelling each other out. And to explain why that happens, just in case you don't know, sound waves are basically vibrations in the air. And like when you drop a stone in the pond, they create sort of ripples. That creates ripples. And you have ripples in the air that propagate. And that's what a sound wave is. So obviously these things go up and down. And they go up and down a number of times per second, and that's the frequency. So the higher the frequency, the higher the note, the more it vibrates, and the lower the note, the kind of the slower it vibrates. I should have said the faster it vibrates, not the more it vibrates. And obviously these frequencies can go up and down, and if you have another thing that's happening that's going up when the other's going down, and then vice versa, it's going down when the other one's coming up, because it's like adding 100 and minus 100 together. They're going to come out at 0. You're not going to get any sound. So the 2 end up cancelling each other out. If you had two channels of the same thing, in fact, I'll do this as an example here. So I'm just going to take this guitar of mine here, slight diversion from what I was talking about, but here we go. So I'm going to take my guitar here, and I'm going to make a duplicate of that track. So this is an identical copy. So at the moment, we should get twice the volume because I've got 2 of it. And And if I load up the mixing desk here and I put my copy out of phase, it will go silent. There we go. It's gone silent. And that's because they're cancelling each other out, because they're identical, except that when this one is saying plus 100, the other one is saying minus 100, and of course they sum together to be 0. So sorry for the diversion there, but I needed to explain what I was talking about. Roy says it's Guinness time. Yeah, sorry, mate, I'm getting technical. But yeah, so that's what I'm checking with these two acoustics. Now, of course, they're not going to be identical. They're two different mics, so they're going to have different characteristics about them. But that doesn't mean that there isn't similar data between them, because it's two mics basically on the same instrument pointing at the same sound hole. So between the two of them, there's going to be some of it's the same, and you want to make sure that most of it is in the right phase. And you can hear if you have them in phase or the signals are in phase as they were recorded, they're actually out of phase. It sounds very thin. And then I switch one of them round. Of course, I'm not playing now, am I? Yeah, you get a lot more fatness out of it. If I take it through to a bit where I'm actually strumming properly. And again, all the high frequencies, because they're really narrow and really fast in how fast they fluctuate, they don't interfere with each other as much as the bass frequencies, which of course are longer. And if you have a 60 hertz wave and a 65 hertz wave that are out of phase with each other, well, they're going to have more chance to cancel each other out because they're physically longer than something that's kind of there and gone. I hope that makes sense. I wasn't planning on explaining this. I hadn't really planned that. But that's why it's always important to check the phase with everything. The snare drum with the overheads, the snare drum with the room. Just, go through checking phases. So I'm going to make two groups. Let's move on from phasing. Otherwise I'm going to get stuck on that and get caught in a loop. I do that when I get technical. I don't know when to stop. Right, here we go. So acoustic. Good advice. Phasing is very important, very true, Trevor. Thank you, mate, for backing me up there. So like the drums, I'm going to have the acoustics there, which are going to be pretty clean. I'll probably put a tiny bit of compression on them, and then I'm going to have a crunch version of them. So I'm just going to turn that channel down for now, and I'm going to send these two acoustics here to the acoustics group. And solo that, move on to where I'm playing. Try and get a bit where I'm not playing badly as well, that'd be good. Right, let's do some EQ. They sound pretty bloody horrible. I was saying on a live stream the other day, acoustics were the bane of my life. I could never get a good sound when I was younger, and now I'm dealing with that now, because obviously I recorded these when I was younger. There's something really lumpy down the bottom. And then I'm going to get the wide cue and turn it up and do the tipping side to side thing. So that's too much, obviously, but... that's just horrible. It's just a horrible low ring. So that's what they were. Right, if ever a guitar needs compression, that guitar needs compression. Hate playing acoustics. I really do. Just hate acoustic guitars. I like the sound of them, but I just hate playing them. I play them like in electric and I just attack them. Right, so let's even that out a bit by, I'm going to send that acoustic group now to the Acoustic Crunch channel, again pre-fader, so I'm not, so I can turn down the acoustic group and it will still come out there. And in this one, I'm going to go for the CLA2A, which is a beautiful sounding compressor. And I'm going to just whack it right up. Crunch that. And again, mix it underneath the acoustics there. Now I'm going to try and pan these two mics very, very slightly, maybe just like, I say slightly, 47. You can hear my guide vocal underneath, listen to that. Wow, haven't heard that in years. That's what we sent to Ian. Right, so I'm just going to... So now I'm going to group those two together so that the they move up and down together. I don't want to link all the inserts or anything, just the volumes. So now if I turn that one down, that one comes down as well. So let's put it in the mixer. So yeah, I started the EQ not listening to anything else, but really you've got to EQ with the rest of the music because otherwise, you know, it can sound great in its own and just awful with everything else. So where we at? Got to send the acoustics to the music group. And the more I'm putting instruments in, the more the whole music group's just getting sort of over loud. So I just pulled it back a little bit. Usually I start it at 0, and by the end of the mix it's about -3, -4, something like that. Right, let's do Dean's opening solo. Just whack in a bit of Dean's opening solo. I'm going to whack in a few more solos and then take a break and maybe come back later and we'll start on the vocals. So I'm getting a little bit of ear fatigue. Probably got about another 20 minutes in me before I need a break. Oh, lovely there, Dean. Listen to that open string just ringing out. It's not just me that makes mistakes. Beautiful. And to think he was into power. It's not hugely noticeable, but I'm just bringing that. I mean, that's 150 hertz, that high pass. And it's just getting rid of all that low end sort of hand movement stuff that's going on. Other than that, I actually think it sounds quite nice. I'm not going to do too much to that. Attention to the music group. Right, this is everything getting louder than everything else, so I'm going to turn my guitar down by 5 dB. Take the acoustics down a bit. I'm not worried about messing up the levels because I haven't got an exact level that I'm hanging on to at the moment. Little compressor over it, just bring out some of those subtleties. I was asked the other day what compression actually does. I might do a proper explanatory video. But basically, in a nutshell, when something gets too loud, it turns it down. It's like having an automatic finger over it, just turning it up and down, up and down. So as things get loud, you bring it down. And then what happens then is because the loud stuff is quieter, it means you can turn the whole track up and then the quieter stuff becomes louder. And everything kind of sounds more like it's within, that's the quietest it can be and that's the loudest it can be, rather than it having a huge dynamic range, which means you can't hear the quiet stuff and you can hear all the loud stuff too much. So I'm trying to bring out, you see here on the wave, he's got these intro sort of peaks where he picks the note, but then there's this stuff here which is quieter. I just want to bring out some of that. So if I chop off these peaks here with a compressor and bring them down, that in turn brings this other stuff up. Again, not the best explanation, but I'll do a proper video about it sometime. I've actually written, I coded in JavaScript the other day. It was quite nice. Little side note here. Coded in JavaScript, kind of a plugin simulator where you could basically put in a formula to generate multiple sine waves, and then you could simulate the attack time and the release time and the threshold and all of that, and it would actually give you a plot of the new wave compared to the old wave after it had been compressed, so you could actually visually see what compression would do. I thought that was quite a fun way to spend an evening coding something like that in JavaScript. Anyway, let's have a look at this guitar. And it will sit in the mix more now. You'll hear the lower notes, the quieter bits come out, and the loud stuff won't poke through as much, and I can turn it up and it will just sit nicely. Beautiful, right. That was nice and easy. There's some other guitars going on here. We've got a little solo bit that me and Dean do here, but there's a guitar here. Oh, it was in that loop where I was doing the toms earlier. Beautiful. Nice one. We've got some rock going now. Didn't mean to do that. Some horrible low mid. Everyone's least favourite, around 800. Well, that's 850, but still not nice. I remember asking Colin Norfield what his least favourite frequency was, and he said 800. And I have to concur, it's not a nice frequency at all. Right, 801, that's lovely, but 800, that's right out. It's just nice rediscovering these parts, because I haven't heard it like this other than bouncing it off the other day, and I didn't actually listen through to every part individually. It's just nice to rediscover what was going on. I mean, Dean's got, what is it, 1, 2 stereo there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks of guitars going down. I mean, obviously not all playing at once, but different sounds and different bits going on. It's nice. Let's roll that up. Those harmonics on the bass there. That's a beautiful bass bit. And he's bending the neck as well. He's getting the bass neck and doing that. That's Russell for you. I'm just going to just turn them down a touch. Just so... And then, of course, what everyone's waiting for is Dean and me doing a dual guitar solo in harmony. Now, this was done with amps. This wasn't done with the pod. I remember doing this on the same day that we did some brass for another song called Cacophony, which we recorded after we'd done Ian's vocals. So we originally had Ian doing harmonica over all of this, and then I remember Dean getting back to the studio and saying it's not guitar-y enough and it needed some more guitars. You can hear me in the background of that because we both had the amp set up in the same room. I'm just going to drag my lead track down here so it's next to Dean's. So, and then I come in here and then we do a harmony thing together at the end. And it was done in, I wouldn't say one take, but it was definitely done together in the room, both playing at the same time. So I'm just high passing both of those. We had quite good fun that day, I remember. So that beginning bit where I slide in is much louder than the solo. So I need to attenuate that a little. We have got to be the only two people on the planet that sacked off a harmonica solo from the lead singer of Deep Purple just so that we could play a bit of guitar. That takes some arrogance, I'll tell you. Nice one. Nice one, Dean. Nice one, Dave. 24-year-old Dave. I don't know that I'd have the guts to do that now. I'd be like, but he's Ian Gillan. We're going to leave his harmonica solo in. But I like that little dual lead thing we do there. Let's have a listen to the harmonica. There is actually another guitar of Dean, surprisingly. Loads of bottom end coming through on that I need to get rid of. Yeah, my hearing is, I need a break, so I'm not going to do too much of top end stuff at the moment. Just roll off some bottom end and see where it is. Right, so on the old one, I did an amp sim on it to make it sound like it had gone through a guitar amp, and I'm going to do the same again with like a spring reverb, something nice and mono sounding. There must be a Fender Twin sort of model in this. Pure amps. Where is it? Is it in the bundles? No. Legacy collections. Oh, there we go. Fender. 65 twin reverb. 65 breakup. Let's have a look at that. No, it didn't want to load that one. Okay. Oh no, it did. It just took time. I'm not used to things taking time. So that's what it sounds like just on the microphone. That's sounding really filthy. I love that. Right, Ian, unfortunately, is going now. Goodbye. I'm going to fade him out slowly. There we go. Oh, I put the Hammond in, did I? Didn't want to do that. Right, I'm going to come back to this. I've been doing almost 2 hours, and I need an ear break and a drink and some other bits and pieces. So I'm going to. What time is it now? It's 4 o'clock. So give it an hour or so. Give it 5, and I'm going to come back and have a look at that Hammond, and then start putting the vocals in the mix and start putting some reverbs and stuff, and see where we get to. So thank you for watching, everyone, and I see you in about an hour. Goodbye.